First story. My wife infidelity. My wife, 31F, and I, 29M, have been married nearly 5 years, together for 8. We are coming up on our 5th anniversary together. We've had some problems the past few years. My wife is an army vet and left 2 years ago, because I told her we couldn't live that life forever. When we got together, she was planning to stay in 3 more years and leave. She ended up staying almost 5 years. I felt like I made so many sacrifices, where we lived far from family and friends. My career was put on hold because some of the places we lived didn't have opportunities in my field. But he always promised that she would get out, finish school and go into nursing school. She was a trauma medic, basically EMT. When she got out, she was nervous about leaving the military after so long. Joined at 18, but she was excited to move on and further her career as a civilian. She has great experience and quickly was accepted to a bachelor's program and on track for the nursing program. She got a job with a pediatric hospital and was loving it. Some major issues started while she was working at the hospital. She was working as a med tech in the ED. Most of the people she worked with were male. I didn't have an issue with that, and met a lot of the people she worked with at events and really liked them. But I did start noticing that my wife suddenly was posting a lot more to Instagram, mainly on her stories. Seemingly harmless, yes, but she had never done this often before. She also started texting, sending male co-workers memes and chatting a lot. I told her it made me a little uncomfortable because she didn't seem to be making any female friends. Majority of coworkers are male, but there are 5 to 7 guys she worked with regularly too. Context: I'm a more cautious and distrusting person. My parents' marriage ended because of infidelity and I have been cheated on by previous partners. My wife's parents' marriage also suffered infidelity. She always promised she could never do that to me, and I felt the same. I was raised strictly, and lying was pretty much the worst offense in my house. I do see the irony given the infidelity in my parents' marriage. I've always told my wife, even if it's bad, I want to know the truth. We can work through anything as long as you are accountable and honest with me. Over the years she has told me lies here and there that have really affected my trust. She had been messaging with an ex-boyfriend on Instagram asking for a meet and never told me. She only told me when I saw a notification about it pop up while her phone was sitting on the table. A few other instances, not involving another person, happened over the years as well. I told her every time she lies, it makes it harder for me to rebuild that trust. Most of the time she brushed it off, saying that I have a bad reaction to things and she was trying to avoid a fight. But we talked through it and I tried to let things go after she assured me she would be honest, even if it upset me. Back to her job. She told me one afternoon that she was like to go gym room for yogas with one of the guys that she works with and another guy from the other department. She asked me if I wanted to go also. However, she scheduled the tea time at 11 a.m. in the middle of the work week. I work a typical 9 to 5, so she knew I wasn't going to be able to go after the yoga session. I asked her more about this guy that had been there. She said he is 24 and is also a med tech where he works. She said he has a boyfriend and is just someone that he's friends with. She said she really doesn't know him that well. The other guy that she works with is the one that suggested they invite other guy because he knew he loved yoga. I asked her what he looked like, and she asked if I was jealous jokingly. She said he was so young, short but masculine and he is an Asian and she wasn't attracted to him. A week or two later, we were at a concert with friends staying overnight near the venue. We had a really fun time and when we got back to the hotel, we were sitting in bed looking for something to watch on TV while we fell asleep. I noticed that she was on her phone texting and I asked who she was texting so late. She really didn't want to tell me and said just a friend and I said what friend? It was the same guy that she had gone yoga with. She said they were just chatting about something funny that happened to us at the night shift. He was working I asked her if I could see the messages and she showed me. There were only 2 messages, one from him and one from her, that I could see. The rest had been deleted. I asked her if these were the first messages they had ever shared, and she said no, the thread had been deleted previously. I didn't understand why, but she assured me it was just because she didn't care about the messages and was cleaning up her message inbox for save phone storage. Fast forward a month or so. My wife quit her job because of serious concerns about her manager. She said she was terrible at her job and kept messing up her schedule, and even passed her over when she had seniority for a better shift. When she confronted her about it, she said it was a mistake that she couldn't fix. She loved the job and was really upset about how everything happened. I asked her the day she quit if she had spoken with any of her colleagues. She told me she had talked to one of her friends whom I've met and like, but they had just texted. I asked if she had talked to the guy he went yoga with, and she said no, I'm sure he'll find out from someone else. For those few days after she quit, she was really upset and kept going on long walks with her headphones. I assumed it was just time to listen to music and recharge. A few days later on the weekend, my wife and I were sitting watching a show and we were looking to order food. We had the food app pulled up on her phone. I'm not sure why I did it. I know it's not right, but I looked at her phone log. I had been getting this nagging feeling in my gut, and when I saw the phone log, saw the guy that she worked with. She said she hadn't talked to, had been called him multiple times in the past few days. They talked for nearly an hour total. The worst part is one of the calls in between her call with him was a call from me. It looked like she was on the phone with him, hung up, answered my call, then called him back once our call was finished. I immediately freaked out and asked her why she had lied and said she hadn't talked to him when it was obvious that she had. She said they had just been talking about the job and some issues he was having with his boyfriend. I asked her why she lied and didn't mention it to me sooner. She got defensive and said I shouldn't have been looking through her phone anyway. I asked her if they had also been texting, and she said they had, but she did not have the text to show me because she had deleted the messages. My wife has always kept her text messages very cleaned up, but it was extremely weird that she had deleted their text messages recently. We talked through it, and she apologized, saying that she would set a boundary with him because they were just friends. But she understood that it was inappropriate to speak to him without telling me, and to talk about intimate things like their relationship or our relationship. Last night, I was almost finished working and came into our bedroom to chat with my wife, who was watching TV. When I opened the door, she was in the middle of texting and immediately closed out of the message app and tried to hide her phone. I asked her what she was doing and who she was texting. She admitted that he had been texting the same guy. She assured me that she was just texting him about what she and I had talked about, that she needed to set a boundary with him. I had a horrible gut feeling, and so I asked her to show me the text messages to verify what she was saying. She adamantly refused. She said, I need you to trust me. Nothing in the text is bad, but I'm not going to show you. I told her I didn't believe her, that if the texts weren't bad, she shouldn't have any issue with me seeing them. She refused, so I told her either show me the messages and we try to work through it even if it's not great, or she is making a choice to break my trust and I can no longer be in this relationship. I hate myself for issuing an ultimatum, but in the moment I was so livid and knew what was in those messages couldn't be good if he was refusing to show me. She told me she would not show me and immediately got her headphones and walked out the door. When she came back, I told her that I was done. My trust has been irreparably damaged, and even if she were to show me the messages, I wouldn't trust it at this point. She also confirmed that she had already deleted their message thread. This morning she left before I woke up and turned off her location on her phone. When she came back, she said she had been at a coffee shop for about 3 hours. I told her that I was still planning to end the relationship and wanted to know if she wanted to be honest about things with this other guy. She told me that she does like him and that he has told her that. She then said that she is attracted to him and that it's very nice to feel attention from someone else. She assured me that nothing physical has happened between them, but that really doesn't make me feel any differently. She said she technically hasn't done anything or cheated on me and hasn't done anything wrong. One day afternoon at lunch, I received call from the manager my wife worked with previous job. She tells me the truth about my wife termination. The reason is other colleagues reported my wife having sex on the lab, and they got the evidences from CCTV which she gave a guy BJ. The CCTV only captured my wife's face, and they can't identify the guy whose he was and my wife don't want to disclose. My heart sink. I still haven't confronted her. I am holding true to what I said. I am so hurt and really don't want a divorce. But I think my trust is too damaged, and I don't think I would ever feel secure in our relationship again. I don't know for sure if she and the guy were ever emotionally. I don't think I trust everything she's saying. But even if they haven't been, it's the lying and the sneakiness that is so impossible to move past. My wife has been texting with a coworker who she said was just a friend. She was hiding it and I found out that they've been physical. She said she likes him and he is also attracted to her. I told her that even if they haven't done anything physically, the lying and the sneaking around has done irreparable damage to my trust. Am I severely overreacting jumping to divorce? Has anyone experienced something like this and been able to repair the trust? Update. Wow, thank you all for the advice and support. I have in fact left our apartment and am staying with family. She continues to say she's not technically cheated and that they are friends. She has still not cut off contact with him. I'm speaking with an attorney tomorrow and hoping to at least get financially legally separated so I can protect my assets. Really can't thank you all enough for the validation. My friends and family are also being super supportive. I know this will be shit and I'm going to have moments of weakness where I miss her, but I know in my gut this is right. Thanks again. Second story. Ex-girlfriend cheated and her dad passed away soon after. Honestly, in comparison to everyone else's stories here, I felt that my own story was too trivial to share as we were not married, but it feels good to vent. Gonna try to keep it concise, but apologies if it gets too long. I, 30M, and the ex-GF, 31F, who we will call Nicole, had been friends for about 5 years prior to us dating. She had always been this unattainable, extremely attractive girl that I was totally cool with having no chance with, and I was happy to just connect over some shared interests, primarily Pokemon. I had been in a LDR with a girl in another state, but that ended because she asked to open our relationship, and that's not something I'm cool with. So we split and I was single for a while. My best friend dragged me to a comic convention to help me feel better, and there I ran into Nicole, and since her birthday had been the prior week, I bought her a box of Pokemon cards as a belated birthday gift. Fast forward a few months and Nicole messages me out of the blue saying that she has had a crush on me for the longest time, etc., etc. She's definitely the sort of girl who can get any guy she wants. From there it felt like a fever dream for over a year. I had a trophy girlfriend who was older, which I assumed that the older she was, the more mature she would be. My best friend approved of her, and while she is not college educated, she still made a decent living as an artist who sold her wares at these conventions. At one point she confessed that she was wanting to take her own life prior to meeting me due to her cheating ex. Her whole family was torn apart because her mom cheated on her dad when she was young, and that I saved her life. At which point I definitely felt she was the one. One embarrassing aspect of her though was that she also made money off of OnlyFans, but she told me that she was hoping to stop that as soon as her art business gained more traction. Anyways, one day out of the blue she tells me that some guy, we will call him Tarzan, had approached her at a convention a month prior and asked her out, and she showed me his Instagram and I was like, wow Nicole, thank you for not leaving me for him, because he basically looked like the Yigachid meme but with long hair at 24 years old. I trusted her entirely, so one red flag that I missed in this conversation was that she didn't tell me if she rejected his advances, and that the story itself was being told a month after it occurred. Most importantly, they had added each other on Facebook and Instagram. I personally had disabled my own social media because I wanted to focus on more important things. Another red flag that I missed was that her birthday party was coming up, and when I asked when and where, she told me that she would like to celebrate her birthday with me separately from her friends. Most of her friends are deadbeats that I wasn't particularly nice to, so it made sense at the time. So, similarly to everyone else's stories, she starts acting very off and distant and rude out of nowhere right after she had spent the weekend at my place. As there had been a convention in town, and I had given her some very extravagant birthday gifts, we had rare arguments, but I communicated with her that she was my priority over any stupid argument. I figured she probably just needed some space, so I don't message her for a few days. Around that time I needed to remember one of my friend's birthday, so I reactivated Facebook to check. But also out of curiosity to see what Nicole was up to, I checked her FB. Lo and behold, all pictures of me had been erased. Her relationship status was suddenly hidden. Tarzan immediately crossed my mind, so I checked his Facebook, and I saw that she had been reacting to basically all of his posts. Obvious red flags, so I call her to no answer. So I then message her what I had discovered, and that thing seemed very suspicious, and then I go to sleep. She calls me back at 2 a.m. and gives me the whole "I just don't feel a connection anymore" blah blah speech, and I end up extremely distraught. I laid in bed for the better part of 72 hours while she at a party. It was an impossibly hard summer, and I wouldn't be around if it weren't for my best friend and my coworkers. For some reason I had completely forgotten about Tarzan. I wasn't in the right mind. After a brief period of trying to win her back, several of my female friends tells me that they believed that Nicole cheated. And suddenly I remembered Tarzan's existence and that he also had an Instagram, so I check it. Sure enough, they'd been seeing each other for a few months prior to us breaking up. There weren't direct photos of them together, but in one post I saw her shoes. Shoes that I had gotten Nicole for her birthday, and heard her voice. This is already getting extremely long, so I'll forego the shitstorm that followed. But she immediately tried claiming that I was abusive etc. to try and turn people against me. Some definitely did. But everyone that I cared about took my side, which is the only thing that matters. Tarzan messages me and I respond that he will find out that dating a girl who actively cheats isn't the best move. To this day they are still together, so I think I'm eating my own words lol. 6 months-ish after, her father suddenly passed away from undiagnosed colon cancer, and I'm guessing with the inheritance money she felt comfortable to quit her day job to become a full-time worker on OnlyFans. I can't claim that this was karma because her father was a good man, and she had always treated him extremely poorly. But she also contracted HPV, and cancer runs in her family, so, fingers crossed. I got tested and am clean, by the way. Sorry for the story being so long. Over a year later I'm still very bitter, but typing this all out feels good. I won't act on any impulses because she's not worth ruining my life over, but I sincerely hope that her life becomes living hell. My life isn't bad at all, a bit lonely not having any romantic ties, but I've gotten very good at shooting guns. I swear the hobby isn't related to this infidelity story XD, and have picked up rock climbing. I also found a domestic rabbit that someone dumped on the streets, so now I have a little dependent, so there's that. If you made it this far, thank you sincerely for reading. Third story. Wife's affair. 2 toddlers. Overwhelmed. Help. My wife and I haven't had the best relationship since we had kids. We got married right at the beginning of COVID and had our first boy shortly after. The stresses of being new parents, isolated from COVID, and not sleeping much definitely hurt our relationship. I also started a new business venture, which is going well but definitely create more stress to the situation. Fast forward a few years and we have 2 toddlers now and basically haven't focused on us at all. Mainly, we are always so tired from work and kids. I know that's not much of an excuse, but we live in a state without any family around and doing this on our own. Within the last 6 months though, my wife started acting even more distant, an emotional train wreck. Moved into a different room in the house and started taking solo camping trips to clear her head and get some space. I was a little suspicious of these trips, but she's an introvert in an overstimulated living situation with toddlers, so this was very on brand for her to do. Last month, she seriously asked for divorce and eventually moved out 2 weeks ago. My sisters said had some heavy suspicions about an affair, so I started looking into it more. I realized she had logged into her email on my computer a long time ago, and it was still there. I found a crazy amount of info that made me more suspicious. First thing, her first camping trip weekend had a hotel booking for 2 people. That was the only thing I had to start. But then a text message appears this Monday between a flirty ex and her. She described her weekend of amazing sex and all the nitty-gritty details, and even sent a photo of him. That's when I really started digging and found a ton of evidence that would take too long to explain now, but it's juicy and crystal clear. The affair is happening and has been all year, on and off. The only question I have for her is how many others were there? It's clear there was one main steady thing throughout this year, but who knows what I'm missing. Then on Tuesday, I, for some reason, started texting her. Remember, she doesn't live with me anymore, and pressing her on what is really going on because her reason for divorce lacked substance and didn't feel like enough. There had to be more substance, and even her family, mine, and everyone in the know were confused and trying to figure out what was going on. On Wednesday, she fell apart emotionally, called me 45 times while I was at work, and drove to my house. Eventually that day she broke down and told me about the affair. She was a complete mess, but then 10 minutes later or so she seemed like a new person. She had been keeping it in from everyone for 8 months, and you could see relief and shame. She was highly apologetic, and the whole time I was just trying to be calm and rational. I already knew, so it wasn't a surprise. Think she expected me to go nuts and start a big fight for good reason, obviously, but I kept it cool. That night she met with her AP and ended it. I can confirm she did that, but trusting it's for good is hard. I'm just trying to cope and heal and then figure out logistics on what to do next. I love her dearly still, and I know she feels very strongly for me too. But with the craziness of life and 2 kids back to back, our relationship failed clearly. Most everyone thinks divorce is the only option. I just need a moment to decompress and process things since I'm so overwhelmed and broken right now. Any advice? Haha, I was so relieved when I discovered all this. You can still do something about it. Her actions and emotions this year all made so much sense. Everything became clear instead of bouncing around ideas in my head thinking I did something, or maybe she's bipolar or extended postpartum or whatever. Now I know. I know of other marriages where there's certainly affairs in the past, but no proof or anything, so they just stay unhappily married forever. From what I can tell from messages, they bonded primarily off issues in their respective marriages. They met on Ashley Madison. They were venting and consoling each other. She knows she ruined her life and reputation. Her boys aren't going to respect her at all when they find out and are old enough to understand. I know she knows her priority is a happy life and family. Her crazy regret and remorse sort of proves that, I guess. She almost checked herself into the hospital. She's a hard person to read, but actually easier after the elephant is out of the room, and she almost has nothing to lose when telling the truth. Unless she has a lot more deeper things or older things. I'm trying so hard. Loyalty and commitment obviously mean way more to me than her. Your words mean a lot. And you're so right. Can you take the kids for a weekend and they parties and sleep with someone else? It's so crazy to me. Love hanging out with my boys and raising them, but it's also a heck of a lot of work by myself. After all this, I want to fight for full custody, but will be hard. Maybe she'll get restrictions. Like can only have them when her mom or I are present. Fourth story. Long distance relationship. Girlfriend of 12 years cheated on me. So my ex-girlfriend 49F and I, 38M, were on Google Meets, our way of flirting and watching shows together, doing our usual thing, and she started playing around with her phone, and somehow I saw she had a notification from TikTok. It was literally 4 a.m. for her, and I thought it was odd because the only people I knew that sent her TikToks was me and her nephew, and it had been hours since I've gone on TikTok. I was playing Roblox LOL. So I asked her who is that, and she mentioned someone that she had never mentioned before, which again I thought was weird. She said it was someone she met through basketball, and she showed me the TikTok the girl sent. After that I asked her if I could see the messages, so she slid up, and I noticed that her face kinda dropped and had this guilty look. And she put her phone to her chest and literally said while nodding no, and I asked her again to show me, and she did the exact same thing. I kept on asking and asking, and she was just acting childish, saying with the phone in the exact same place and apartment. I knew she was cheating, so I kept on asking how long has it been since they started talking, and she said about a month. After that I kept on asking more, but she started saying no, I'm done. She kept on saying I'm done with this. At one point she did say something like this is just how it is or this is just how I am, and I honestly can't remember the exact words because it just felt so unreal. I just brushed it off, ATM, but now that think about it, I'm shocked anyways. She wouldn't answer my questions anymore, so I got pissed off and left the Google Meets. I also blocked her and unfollowed her. This wasn't the first time I caught her being disloyal, unfortunately, so it really just pissed me off. The next day I found the girl's TikTok through my ex's following and decided to text her. At first she seemed really shocked and felt bad. She told me they met through an app where you make friends, but they were kinda talking. But then later on she started acting weird, saying that it's okay, and she kinda gave off a we weren't even dating so it doesn't matter vibe. Not only that, but she asked for my ex's Insta since she, my ex, lied about not having one. She also wanted to see what I look like because of something about her being cheated on before as well, and she wanted to see if we looked the same. I don't know, it was confusing, but anyways the last message she sent was I called her, and she said she feels really bad. I don't know if that helps, but I wanted to lick, and that made me feel horrible. I said Ty and unfollowed her after that because I honestly don't wanna know what they were doing anymore. All I wanted to do was to find out more about what happened and warn her about my ex, but to me it seemed like she didn't care, and the fact that my ex was calling someone after we just broke up, like wow, it's going to be almost 3 weeks, and I'm feeling a lot better now, but it just still comes to mind, and I can't believe she would do that. And TBH, I'm still waiting for her to send me an apology. She did, but it didn't feel genuine. All she said was sorry, and her explanation was I don't know, and I just did. That's all. After that I cut her off on everything. I deleted all her photos. I just want to move on and focus on myself. But it's so hard not having that closure or explanation. Honestly kills me. Like why? I don't know if she just didn't want to be with me anymore, but that's still not fair.